I'm
Good
with
to
you.
go.
All right. So I'm George Shepard, Chair of the Conservation Commission, and I call this meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. Members present remotely include Brian Murphy, Dan Wells, Sylvia Willard, and myself. Who did I miss? I think that's it for now. Remotely connected are Conservation Administrator Megan Sullivan and Noel. Well, no, Noel's not here, right?
Yeah, Noel's on vacation.
Okay. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by telephone or Zoom web conference as posted in the town website identifying, how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to hear you, and anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All participants should keep their phones or microphones muted unless recognized by me. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. I will call on each speaker to address the commission. If you wish to address the commission, please click the raised hand icon or ask to speak by posting a request in the chat feature. Please identify yourself at the start of your remarks. All right.
And just for the record, George, Melissa just joined.
Oh, good. Welcome, Melissa. So, turning to the agenda, it's after 7:01. So, is there any community input that we need to assess or listen to? I must admit, Megan, I don't quite understand. If somebody has a complaint or something they'd like to say, independent of the agenda, they're welcome to do that here.
Yeah, it's something that other committees and boards in town have on their agenda, which is why I put it on there. And yeah, it's just an opportunity for the public to, ask a question or bring something up if they'd like
All
to.
right. So we'll open it up to the public. Anybody have any comments they'd like to address? Address at this time? Not hearing any. I've got 1 minute to go before we get to the public hearing part.
Bills.
Byron,
Yeah, I can
Bills.
run through the bills.
think we can actually do those very quickly. All right.
Sure. So the first three bills
Ranger.
on the agenda, from Granger, O'Connor, Ace Harbor, and Staples are all for the Farm Garden Community Garden funds. And so for the Granger one, it's $486.66, and it's for parts to improve three more wells at Foss Farm to bring them all up to standard. And then the O'Connor Ace Harbor bill of $121.37 is for keys and some tools necessary for improving the wells at the gardens to clean and rethread the pipes. And then the last charge from Staples for $27.88 is for garden key mailing envelopes. And then the last bill on the agenda is the for Carlisle Rubbish, and this is for $70, and this can be paid from the LSC repair and maintenance funds.
Sounds good. Any comments from commissioners on this list? And can I get a motion to accept the bills as provided?
So moved.
Second.
Melissa and Sylvia. We'll take a roll call vote. See, Brian.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm next to my list here. Melissa,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Willard, Sylvia, and George Shepard.
Aye.
Sylvia, aye, and the
Aye.
chair votes aye. The motion passes. All right.
And there's a second bill. You want to get rid of it? Oh, maybe not.
I think we got through them all, didn't we?
Oh, we did. Oh, that
Yes.
one. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
on the other page. Okay.
Thank you.
So it is 7:06. So we can do item number one, public hearing, notice of intent. This is 125-1208, 812 Maple Street. This is for the Greeno Conservation Land. And looking at what my agenda says here, that the recommendation from the Conservation Administrator is that we continue this public hearing until May 14th. So, Megan, do you want to add the rationale for why we want to do that?
Yeah, sure. So, sorry, this has been continued a bunch. But when it first came to us, it was winter, so I wasn't able to confirm the delineation. I went out after the last meeting, and located some of the flags, but other flags still have to be refreshed. So I'm working with the wetland scientist that was hired to do the wetland delineation, and we're gonna get out next week and hopefully reflag the area, and then I can confirm that the delineation is correct. And we've also made some changes to the restoration plan based on the commission's feedback in the past. So those updates are in the meeting packet, but everything will be circulated in time for the next meeting as well. So not ready to be closed tonight because the delineation isn't confirmed, but I think it should be all set by our next meeting.
Which is on May 14th.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. So can I get a motion to continue the public hearing until May 14th?
So move.
Brian?
Second.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I'll be a year older that day.
Wow.
You don't look it. We'll take a roll call vote, please. Sylvia?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, the motion passes. We got a minute and a half before the next item.
Yeah, we can
Just to
probably
ref-
move to the minutes real quick.
Okay. You're
I
good at
didn't
this.
receive any comments for the March 19th minutes. I only received a couple small edits from Sylvia for the April 9th, but nothing for the March 19th.
Right.
And I reviewed both and I saw Sylvia's comments and I think that's all I would have made myself. So can
Excellent.
you recommend that we approve the minutes?
I'd
So
recommend.
Okay, so that's Melissa. Seconded, please.
I'll second.
Second.
Nobody else will.
Thank you, Brian. And of course, we'll take a roll call vote. So, Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you. Going back to page 1. So it is 7:10 on the dot. So there are item number 2, minor modifications to 125-1174, which is 244 Bingham Road, formerly 0 Bingham Road, lot 4, parcel 16-31-4. The applicant is Brian Doobie, and the applicant is proposing to reduce the length of the approved stream crossing box culvert from 22 feet to 20 feet. Do we have an applicant from the owner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of Brian Doobie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. So I'm sure the commission is familiar with this project, but just to kind of provide some background to the project itself, this is a single-family home project that requires a wetland and stream crossing to access the upland area in the back of the parcel. This commission granted an order of conditions with a box culvert, wetland replication, environmental monitoring, to allow the development of the single family lot is allowed by zoning. And the applicant has been looking at the culvert design and asking us some questions. And so we've prepared this memorandum for the commission just to discuss the compliance of stream crossing standards and the question of whether or not the culvert could be modified to be slightly smaller just to make construction a little easier to be completed in an efficient manner, while also still meeting the stream crossing standards that are required for crossing the stream that we are seeking to access the upland in behind. So I prepared the memorandum, and I'm just gonna, if I'm able to share my screen, I'd love to share the table that I prepared just to help kind of provide a side-by-side comparison of that. So this is the memorandum that we submitted to the commission, just in terms of what the stream crossing standards are and what's changing, what's not changing. So it's a we're not proposing to change the box culvert design in terms of its fundamental nature, which is an open bottom culvert. So the original design had an open bottom culvert, and the new culvert is the same, no change there. The embedment of the culvert is going to stay the same in terms of how deep it is into the ground to ensure there's no scour or should there be any major flooding or anything else. So there's no change in that matter. The crossing span. This is the width of the culvert as you look down or upstream. This at the crossing itself in terms of the cross sectional area. The stream width is 7 feet. Bank full width is 8.4 feet. So that's the minimum required for the width of the culvert. The original culvert span was 21 feet, so over double what the bank full width was required. And we'd like to bring that down to 9 feet, which still meets the bank full width of 8.4, so greater than the bank full width there, which gives adequate space for the stream, the bank, and wildlife movement through the culvert, while also allowing the crossing to cross over. The other change is in terms of the openness ratio. We are reducing the length of the culvert, that is the longitudinal length along the bank, from 22 feet to 20 feet. So that's basically making it smaller in terms of how much bank is actually overarched by the culvert itself. The design of the culvert would reduce the openness ratio down to 1.26, which is far greater than the minimum of 0.82. Which was minimum. The original design was 2.76, which far exceeded even the optimal design standards for stream crossing standards. The height of the culvert isn't going to change at all. We're going to keep it at that same height over the stream itself. And then the stream bed material would remain the same, and water depth throughout the culvert would be the same as well. So that's the change that we wanted to bring before the commission. This is kind of an informal discussion. We were hoping to decide if you needed a formal minor modification, if you needed an amended order of conditions, and where the commission would be on this matter, so we could proceed in a straightforward matter with you. But that's the change that we're looking to do. It still meets the stream crossing standards, still bankful with.
All right. So Megan, in your red lines, you said you were going to have a
Minimum
recommendation
standards for openness ratio, provides plenty of openness for
Oh, sorry.
wildlife movement.
We lost your.
No, sorry,
I lost
you're-
your audio for a moment there.
That's okay, Mr. Chair. I was basically done with my general presentation. I could definitely dig into more. I've got the plans ready to show if you want me to look at show those again. But that's our request basically is can we reduce the size of the culvert while still meeting the stream crossing standards? And does the commission feel that this needs an amendment or can just be a minor field modification?
So Megan, you had some inputs that you wanted to provide?
Yeah, sure. I think that, if they're proposing changes to the width and the length of the culvert, which impacts two of the stream crossing standards, it doesn't necessarily mean that the stream crossing standards aren't still going to be met, but it is changing the way that those standards are currently met. I think that because of that, it has changes to the crossing span and the openness ratio that a formal amendment would probably be the best option here. I don't think this qualifies as a minor amendment. I do think it qualifies as an amendment to the order since, the commission approved a stream crossing, which is a pretty substantial approval in a notice of intent. So I feel like any changes to that would be best made through a formal amendment.
So Mark, what's your response to this? Is he still available? Sylvia.
Yeah, I read quite a lot on this because I sort of lived it in the office at the time. I've read down through the final review from the peer reviewer, John Rockwood, which came in August, the end of August of the 2024. The hearing wasn't closed until, I think, in February 2025. And I don't understand why, if they had a problem with the crossing, that they didn't take the opportunity to ask for a change in between the end of August and February. This was a substantial, as Megan said, crossing, and it went through a peer review. There was the owner, the applicant, and Goddard was involved, and so Ecotech was hired as a peer reviewer for both the ORAD and for the design of the road and the crossing. And the order of conditions does require that if you're going to make any changes, that there be an amendment to the order of conditions requested. I read down through those two. I don't know what anyone else feels, but I think it should go through a formal process and maybe even bring in the peer reviewer again.
I agree.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
agree as
Melissa.
well.
So what is the reason to drop the 2 feet? Because is that just a cost savings on the builder? Because it looks like you're going to spend more money on all of this than you would to just put 2 more feet of concrete.
It's a lot of functionality in terms of the construction process itself. The contractor was concerned about how quickly and how easy it would be to install the culvert. This size culvert is a lot larger. If we can bring it smaller, it makes it easier logistically with the cranes and everything else that need to come in. And so he really wants to make it a smooth and efficient process. So we're in and out as quickly as possible. So there's minimal disturbance and minimal time that we're there, really kind of getting the crossing in place so that way the nature can continue to function through the area itself. So that was really the primary driving reason. Again, the contractor wasn't involved with the permitting process, so he's kind of brought some perspective to the applicant's team in terms of what is actually going to happen here. And so that's part of the process. So there is some cost savings, but also just functionality and how the project would be implemented.
Mark, could you pull up the cross section of the crossing? Because to me, going from 21 feet to 9 feet, that's a pretty big change in the bank full width and the span.
Yep. So this is the cross section of the culvert that's on the approved plans. So as you can see, in the inside culvert width is 21 feet. Again, the width versus the length. The length would be the distance into the page along the bank, being 22 feet as approved, being reduced to 20 feet as proposed, as suggested here. The width of the crossing is spanning the stream and the wetland. If you count the wetland and the stream together, it's a wider than 7 feet, but the stream bank itself from bank to bank is 7 feet. And that was part of the original findings under the original notice of intent with the bank width was 7 feet and bank full width would have been 8.4 feet in width. So the stream still has functionality, and that bank full width is factoring an extra factor of protection for wildlife moving on the banks, which is basically gives you a little more of a shelf on the sides for wildlife to move back and forth there. If the commission was amendable to like a slightly wider culvert to kind of balance things, I think the applicant might be willing to consider that. Again, 9 feet is kind of where we hope to land. But if there was a concern about that drastic width and there was kind of a middle ground that we could maybe fine. I think the applicant might be willing to do that because again, it would still help with some of the logistics because the 21 feet is it's a very big culvert. I've placed culverts this size before. They're a lot harder to put in complex versus the smaller culverts, which you just could go in a lot faster.
Can you just move your cursor kind of where that would fall, the 9 foot versus what's currently there?
Sure. So I will have to eyeball this a little bit, but I'm just gonna draw a red line here. So this is that would be 21 feet, and then if we do this, we're gonna cheat here a little bit, and we're gonna pull this, and then we're gonna do so about half is about 10 feet, so 9 feet would be there. So that would be there. So you can kind of see that the stream channel is still all within the culvert. It's just a question of how much extra edge you have to your stream itself. Um, but again, we weren't sure. That's why we wanted to have this informal discussion because we thought the commission might have some perspective on the width of the culvert and if there was something that we could do. Again, we still want to shorten the culvert to 20 feet. That contractor said 22 feet is way too long. There's plenty of room to make it 20 feet wide. I can get the driveway crossed with shoulders and everything else very safely. It's not going to change anything in terms of that access. He said it's too long. It's too long. But the width is also something that he wanted to reduce. And again, 9 feet is kind of where the bankful width holds us to in terms of the requirements for stream crossing standards. That's the requirement is bankful width of 1.2. But if this commission had other comments, and again, if the commission wants an amendment, I told the applicant already that you may require an amendment. So if that's something the commission understands or wants, I can understand that, and hopefully we could at least get some guidance tonight about the culvert width or where the commission might want to land on that, so we could maybe prepare an amendment that would kind of be more consistent with what the commission already is kind of thinking.
So Dan, 9 feet seems rather small based upon the drawing that we're looking at here. Is there a recommended width that we can estimate, or is that something that the contractor has to recommend? What do you need?
I mean, at a minimum, so we're going from doubling the optimal standards to not even meeting the optimal standards. So at a minimum, I would suggest at least meet the optimal standards, which your table.
Yeah, so that would, I can pull that table up. So the optimal openness ratio standard is 1.64. And so if you did a culvert of 12 feet wide, that would meet this, that would be 1.68. That would meet the optimal openness ratio if you did a culvert 12 feet wide.
Can I also just ask a question or point something out, if I may?
Sure, Megan, go ahead.
So it says in the chart that the bordering vegetative wetland width is 10.9 feet. So if you were to decrease the culvert width to 9 feet, wouldn't you then be putting the edges of the footing of the culvert inside of the BVW? Because I thought that one of the reasons this was approved, or one of the things I read about in the peer review was that the footings would be outside of the BVW, so you wouldn't actually be filling BVW, you would just have the footings in the buffer zone. So I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think if the applicant was looking for an amendment and they were looking to fill a resource area that previously wasn't permitted to be filled, then in my eyes that increases the scope and would probably need maybe even a new filing if that wasn't permitted before. So I think if you widen it and at least keep it outside of the BVW, then probably, that's the minimum.
So that's a great question, Megan. So, in terms of the crossing itself, most crossings do end up filling wetlands when they're crossing a stream, just because otherwise you end up with bridges or spans that are significant to span the entire crossing. This is actually a very narrow wetland crossing for ones I've worked on. I've done bridges up to 30, 50 feet for wetland crossings. I was in Hopkinton actually, and so the project itself did permit the alteration of BVW, and that's why wetland replication was required. Although we're not excavating the wetlands themselves under the approved plans, they are being altered because we are removing vegetation, removing sunlight, which really basically destroys the ability for sunlight to prove it. We've done studies before with bridges, even that are higher than 5 feet, where sunlight still doesn't get underneath at the angles, and you end up with kind of a bank underneath the culvert itself. And so that's kind of the nature of the alteration. So under DEP's requirement in the order of conditions, we had to replicate the wetlands that were altered by the crossing itself because although they are not being touched in terms of excavation, they would be altered and therefore impacted and therefore need to be replicated for their functions and values to function per the bylaw and also the Wetlands Protection Act.
Well, what I'm hearing here is that I think I have enough support from the commissioners that we really need a formal amendment. And I tend to think that, and I don't know what to recommend. I look to my commissioners and say, is there a recommendation for a width that we would assess to be the minimum and then let you work out the final details?
Well, we had a peer reviewer to help with the design of this to make sure it was a good design.
Which is being modified. So do we
We're
need to
just
get
trying
the
to
peer
modify.
reviewer to
Yeah.
review the
Yeah.
latest plan?
Yeah.
And I think we do.
I think that's a good idea.
And if they come back with a different design, I think it ought to be peer reviewed, personally.
Yeah.
So Megan, does that make sense if we can recommend to the applicant that they redesign it to meet the peer review standards and maybe have a new peer review take a look at it to assess the minimum requirements and make a recommendation to the commission on an update to this plan?
Yeah, it sounds like, the ask tonight is whether or not this modification could be approved of tonight in this kind of informal way, or if it warranted a formal amendment to the order. So it sounds like the commission thinks that it warrants a formal amendment, so you all can vote on that. And then in the meantime, if you feel like a peer review is necessary, then I can work to get that going if the applicant submits an amendment so that we can get it reviewed once a design is submitted to us through an amendment.
Of course, the other option is to not make any changes at all.
Yeah.
Our hope was tonight again was this was just an informal discussion to gauge where the commission was at, and I understand the commission would want an amendment. They would want any design changes peer reviewed. That's totally understandable and totally within your request. So we wanted to just know if that process went through peer review, okay, this is a modification. If the commission's kind of willing to listen to their peer review and that guidance and maybe make a change, if that's what the commission is willing to, and it seems like there's some understanding that there could be some changes that could be allowable. That's what the applicant wanted to gauge tonight, and then we can kind of proceed with filing a formal application, and then let that process proceed as the commission discussed tonight. Again, just wanted to gauge your consideration for that process.
Well, in general, I think that's the right process. We need a new design and we need to have a peer review substantiate the rationale for that particular design and present it to the commission. And if it makes sense, it'll sail right through. But we don't have enough information to move on what we see before us.
Understood. I wasn't expecting even a decision tonight. I was mainly expecting there to be discussion and you'd request more information or something clear that would give you, because we didn't modify the plans. We just have it conceptually kind of prepared. But again, that was our hope tonight. So this was very, very helpful. And if there's any other comments, feel free, glad to take them now. But if that's it, thank you so much for your time tonight.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Sylvie.
I drove by a couple times. Bingham Road is actually my favorite road in all of Carlisle. Reminds me of home in Vermont. The site is under construction now. I saw some erosion control. I didn't get out of my car, but I saw some erosion control was there. Is it fully installed at this point? Or is there an opportunity for any erosion to go into wetlands at this point?
So at this time, there's the erosion controls were installed. The snow fence was installed to protect the trees along the perimeter.
Mhm.
We've taken out the trees up to the crossing itself. We haven't gone farther than that because one, we wanted to have this discussion. The contractor has been able to line up his execution. We've had the pre-construction meeting with Megan, which was excellent. And we walked through the whole process of how we would cross because part of the project does allow us to kind of get going in the back. Even if this modification is happening along the crossing. So, but there's no active construction right now. The soils haven't been disturbed or excavated. We haven't removed any stumps. So, there isn't a risk of erosion at this point with the root system still in place. The leaf duff is still in place. But the contractor is working on lot 5, which is just down this,
Yeah.
just the next house over. So they are aware of the area. They're keeping an eye on it. And so, but at this point, there's no risk there.
Yeah, lot 5 looks like the house is about done.
It is.
So Megan, I'm going to recommend that we make a proposal that we look to the contractor and owner to submit a formal amendment with peer review assessment as to the rationale and so on to the commission, and we will assess it at that time. That makes sense?
Yeah, sounds good. I can, Mark, I can send you a follow-up email after the meeting just to summarize what was talked about today, and then, you guys can decide how you want to proceed from there.
Yeah, if they provide a new plan, then you send it to the peer reviewer to get a quote on what a review would cost, and then
Right.
I can approve it.
Yep. Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for your time. Have a good night.
Well,
Thank you.
so Megan, do we need to make a vote here as far as we've passed the recommendation? I don't think we need to do anything further, do we?
I don't think so. I mean, there's no real action because it's not like they have to. It's really up to them if they want to do a redesign or not. So I don't think a vote is necessary. I think we've discussed it far enough.
Okay, good enough. No vote.
Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, Mark. All right, it's past 7:20. We can move to item 3, a tree removal request for 387 Acton Street, parcel 17-18-16. Oh boy. Ahinav Sirpathy is the applicant. This is a request for the removal of one dead tree within the 100-foot buffer zone. And Megan, you provided some great pictures, and I see the tree, and it certainly looks dead to me. I
Yes.
gather that. Do you want to add your comments here?
Sure, it's pretty simple. It's just one dead tree. It's on the edge of the wetland area, so it's within our jurisdiction. Because it's a dead tree, it's just going to be dropped in the landscaped area and removed, so it's not like there's any heavy machinery that needs to be on site to access, and then no mitigation proposed since the tree is dead.
Sounds good. Can I get a motion to accept, approve?
Wait.
Oh, sorry, Sylvia.
A
Go
lot
ahead.
of these lots have conservation restriction envelopes. And you can see this was CR, is it 61 here, 83, whatever?
63, yeah.
Yeah. And I just wanted to make absolutely sure that this tree is outside of the CR area, that I believe CCF holds the CR on this property.
Hmm. Do we have someone with that knowledge that can
Yeah.
help with the decision?
I assumed that since it was right on the edge of their lawn,
It probably is, but I don't know.
yeah.
So do we need to make a site assessment as to its relative
I
location?
can double check with CCF if you want to retroactively approve it based on the fact that it's not on conservation restriction land, then I can confirm.
So why does it look like, I don't know what the yellow line is, but the yellow line would make me think that the CR 63 covered the house as well, which is probably not true, but that's what it
I
looks
think
like.
the yellow line is a lot line.
Yeah, the yellow line is the lot line, and then the green area is the CR.
And and it's
Megan,
outside the CR, right?
that's the GIS version, which is not the actual
yeah,
CR.
yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
Megan, in your photo, it looks like there's silt fence behind the tree.
Yes.
Is there a reason for that? And could it be removed?
Yeah, I did check on this. I can't remember exactly right now what the file was for it, but there was also some on the driveway to access these two properties. Because I think they're, fairly new, as in a few years old, but I can double check, and if there's a certificate of compliance that's already been issued, I can ask for them to remove that, but if there hasn't, then I can get that process going. Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot about that.
I think there is a little section that has a uh, retention basin next to the driveway pullout there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I don't know if it's got its certificate of compliance yet or not.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
And if
Megan,
there's-
this is the recommendation to continue this until the next meeting?
I think this is just my opinion, but I think it would be fine to retroactively approve it, and then before I sign off on the tree removal application, I can just double check with the CR holder to make sure it's not their land. And then if it is, then I can just, get their permission to, remove it or coordinate.
you can look at the plan, the construction plan for that house project and see where the erosion control barrier is planned, and if it's outside the CR, it looks like the tree would be okay.
Yeah.
You know, you
Okay.
I would move that we approve the tree removal pending Megan's research onto the CR location, CR boundary.
Can I get a
Yeah.
second?
Second,
Is that Melissa?
now Sylvia.
Sylvia. Oh, I can't spell. Sorry. We'll take a roll call vote. Sylvia,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Melissa. Melissa, you're muted. Hello, Melissa. All right, we'll move off to Brian.
Sorry, I.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you. All right. That was surprisingly longer than I thought it was going to be.
That's complicated.
Yeah, well, more so than I understand. Anyway, it's after 7:25. We can go to item number 4, which is selection of pilot conservation property for the long-term land management plan process. And Sarah presented
That's
last
me.
time. Hey, Sarah.
Hello.
Do you want to summarize where we stand right now, and then we can move forward?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so last time I was here, I presented what was essentially a draft framework for the process to develop land management plans, long-term land management plans for the conservation lands we have in Carlisle. And so the first step in this large project is to do essentially a pilot to try it out to see how the process works so that we can make adjustments as necessary, and then hopefully it can become iterative over time. So everybody knows kind of how we can have a process that everybody understands how it functions in terms of the order of operations, essentially. And so last time we had discussed a number of different properties that might be suitable for the pilot, being the first one to kind of undergo this process. And so essentially, I put together a table of the 3 properties. And what I need from you folks tonight is a decision on which one to start with. So I think I could share my screen.
Not yet. There we go.
There we go. And then if I click slideshow, does it stay shared?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, great. Also, I just put this together because of, some of the feedback I got at the meeting about, it'd be helpful to understand what the overall project goals are. And so the first three I pulled from different documents that have been guiding town decision making over the past several years. So one of them is the master plan, and then the open space and recreation plan, the most recent one from 2021. So you can see that this process is in the spirit of these goals that already exist in our planning documents. And then I essentially summarized what the overall goal is as facilitating the creation of a long-term land management plan that establishes a shared and actionable vision for conservation land in Carlisle. So I just thought it would be helpful to have that written down, and these will, be referenced going forward. When it comes to the lands themselves, what I heard at the last meeting was, I went in saying, toll could be our pilot. And I heard some feedback. Some folks thought that toll could work, others were more hesitant. Some suggested some alternatives. So I basically just put this chart together with the three I heard the most, that being Fox Hill, Benfield, and then Toll. And essentially just a pretty simple summary of what I think is important about these properties when it comes to making this decision. So hopefully this is helpful. And at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions. But I'm looking to you for a decision.
So, Sarah, this is an initial round, and I would think that you'd be looking for potentially the simplest case to sort of cut your teeth on some of the issues and not all of them at all one time. So, looking at this table that you presented, my first guesstimate is Fox Hill looks like a very good first chance to do that. Now, I look at Thule Farm, and that's much more complex and it's going to take a lot longer. So perhaps finding a simple case to cut our teeth on sort of idea would make sense. And that said, let me ask other commissioners for comments.
I
I
think
would
you're
agree.
right. Whoops, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
I would definitely agree. I think if you got into Toll Field with 112 acres, you'd quit your job. So I think Fox Hill or Benfield, but Fox Hill should be simple. It does say former haying fields, which is not true because if we get rain, they will be hay fields.
Okay.
Lately, they've been both hay, and I believe there's been some grazing allowed there as well on Fox Hill, but still, it doesn't have a conservation restriction on it. It doesn't have any of the other complexities of a lot of the other lands. It's got a trail going across it, which is nice.
I
But anyway.
like, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sylvia, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mentioned the Fox Hill the last time because it's simple. And the original Land Stewardship Committee chose that as well. I believe also because it was simple to do, to get the form together. I just think Fox Hill would be a good one to start. I also think that it would be good to have some of the existing members of Land Stewardship Committee involved as well. I think, it's the townspeople that been working with this land that know quite a lot. And so I look at this project as something that would be something that's should be driven by the land stewards and the commission.
So Sylvia, you're recommending that the land stewards assess this first, provide recommendation to Conscom, and then we can make the final decision. Is that what I hear?
It's sort of, I mean, if if she wants to get going on Fox Hill, it's probably doable in the next couple of months, which is what the timeline she gave. But I also think that, I don't know where we are in finding new land stewards. I don't know if any have signed up or not.
That's coming later tonight.
Oh, okay.
It's on the agenda.
Oh, good. Good. But I think any of these baseline assessments and management plans need to be, as it was mentioned last time, driven by the commission and the land stewardship and the residents.
I concur, Sylvia, with Sylvia and also you, Brian, around Fox Hill, because I like the fact that we have a management plan already, but it's 20 years old. So that looks like an excellent exercise to me. And I concur with Sylvia. I'd like to see the 3 remaining members of LSC involved in your effort.
And there have
Definitely.
been changes out there on Fox Hill in the years since 2006 that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I just would add, so the idea for the meetings themselves would be as inclusive as possible. I'm not sure if you recall, I do have a slide kind of outlining, land stewardship committee, conservation restriction advisory committee, if applicable, depending on the property. Of course, Conservation Commission, Environmental Sustainability Committee, Trails Committee, they would all be invited and encouraged to participate. But in order for that to happen, we need to pick a starting point. So this is helpful.
That's great.
And that is definitely a part of the plan.
And you'll be our point person for ensuring all that great collaboration happens.
Yes, I am the coordinator, as it says in my job.
It's a wonderful thing.
My job is to coordinate.
I love it.
With Sylvia's point, though, you're saying you want the LSC to kind of take the lead. This is Sarah's deal. I don't want Sarah to feel, Sarah's going to coordinate and get the input and organize meetings, but the whole point of having Sarah do this, is not to have the LSC be taking the lead on it. Did I misunderstand?
No, Dan, I think you're right. I mean, the formal decision comes with the CONSCOM. If we could get input from the LSC, but we're having trouble constituting an LSC until later in this meeting.
Right, but we do have a separation between policy and process, right? So policy is LSC, process is Sarah and other staff.
So how do I interpret that, Melissa? And what do we do now?
I think that empowering Sarah to lead the charge on sort of galvanizing an input effort on Fox Hill and staking out what should be included in a revised management plan is an excellent idea. But I just want to reaffirm that the charter for LSC includes establishing policy on, policy recommendations on conservation lands. So there will be a little bit of an overlap there. And I hope, Sarah, I hope you're comfortable with that.
And the Conservation Commission owns the land.
That's right. So, Sarah, we're not disempowering you. We want to hear your voice, but you're not the only voice.
No, of course not. And my role is not to make the decisions, but to create the structure for the decisions to be made by, the committees that oversee land use, with the ultimate decision power resting with the Conservation Commission. So,
And we know,
it's not my role to direct what would actually happen with the within the management plan. That's for residents to decide in their roles as committee members or just as the public.
Very good. Yep.
Yeah. So, and I think one way that I know Ryan has discussed it is that my role is very much looking very far into the future, 25 plus years. And then, there's the actions that are happening in the present day and the short term, within the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm and then eventually the two should hopefully, catch up with each other. But that's the overall, like I'm kind of over here, and then you have the more present day actions happening here, and then eventually they will meet is the idea.
So I just want to mention that, I would hope that our new land stewards are thinking 25 years in the future too. In that regard, you guys will be well aligned.
And I'll be looking down from heaven to see how you do.
Yeah, me too.
But I think there needs to be involved in this some flexibility because things happen in the environment that are not planned. And we need to
True.
be able to move on that. And one example is, I think it was around 2000, what was it, 2012? Yeah, it's 2012, Hurricane Sandy came through and turned the town forest into a pile of pickup sticks. And that needed to be addressed pretty quickly. Now, hopefully that won't happen again. But things happen in the environment that you're not prepared for. And so we have to be able to move.
To be flexible. So Sylvia, when are you going to write the conservation history of Carlisle so we can all be on the same page? All right. Moving on.
I move around on conservation land a lot.
But I think the point here is that the assessment was looking for a recommendation from the Conservation Commission which property to focus on initially. And I think we agree that Fox Hill, from our standpoint, makes sense. And Sarah, I think what I hear from commissioners is that we need to make sure that the LSC members that are available would concur. And if they don't, then we need to come back and make another assessment.
There is one available at the moment,
One what?
LSC member.
Go where?
Brian.
Oh,
And
not
Alex.
anymore.
No,
I know.
Alex.
You need a quorum. You can't just get somebody's off.
I know. That's
So
a problem. Yeah.
I'll move that we direct Sarah to pursue Fox Hill.
I second. Thank you, Sarah.
Dan and Melissa. We'll take a roll call vote. So, Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
chair votes aye, the motion passes. All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get cracking.
Thanks, Sarah.
Oh, now you have to get to work. All right. Item number 5, discussion of the Pony Club use of Foss Farm for equestrian activities and associated maintenance responsibilities. This is supposed to be at 7:35, which was 20 minutes ago. I must admit, in reviewing all the information that's available, the pictures of before and afters, this is a big task. And Megan, how much of the burden of trying to resurrect this property for the Pony Club is going to fall on the club's shoulders?
Yeah, I think that's a discussion that needs to happen. I'm not entirely sure on my own, but yeah, I think ideally this is something that would probably start with the LSC and then ultimately the decision would be made with CONSCOM. But because we don't have the LSC functional right now, yeah, it's just up to you all to decide if you want to kind of hash out the details now without the LSC or wait for them to be more functional and have them discuss this.
Well, I will put in my 2 cents that we don't have enough information. That said, any other commissioners have a comment, and then we'll open it up to the public?
Also, I was just going to add that I think Catherine Cole from the Pony Club is here in case you would like her to provide any details or anything.
I'd appreciate that. Catherine.
Hello. So I think I agree with you. And one of the things that had us concerned in the beginning of all this is it is a bit of a daunting task. I think thinking outside the box here, I guess, if we could probably use some help in, I think especially like mowing, designating the areas that we will be responsible for and sort of getting them to a maintainable, like I think that initial, to be fair, I haven't been there since the snow melted. I don't know how often things got mowed. I don't know where they got mowed. But it may be that if there's sort of an initial, like whoever had been maintaining it is able to get an initial cut in, it may be easier for us to maintain the area that we have historically been responsible for. I think that's our biggest concern is just, I think Jesse and Matt were doing it previously. I don't own a gigantic field mower. It's not in my list of equipment.
I think I can let you know. I think I can let you know offline who was mowing it before.
Okay, that would be great because we're happy to help finance that. That's what we have fundraisers for. So I guess the main thing that we just need to know is what are we responsible for? Where are we responsible for it specifically? And then the other main concerns are, I think it's clear that what we need to do about any tree overgrowth, and particularly if there are saplings that need to be removed, what are we allowed to do and what are we not allowed to do? Our biggest concerns are obviously from a safety perspective, you need to have a 6-foot ceiling height anywhere the kids are jumping. That's just purely in case the unforeseen happens and they get launched into orbit. And then in terms of making the dressage area usable, there are all those saplings that are on, I don't know my directions, but that are on the end closest to 225 that just make it relatively unusable at that end. And again, what do we do about the dune grasses? Where are we allowed to go? Where are we not? What do we need to do about the beetles? What are we allowed to do? What are we not? I think we clearly need some guidance in that regard.
So, Catherine, when was the last time the Pony Club had a major event on that
Pre-COVID.
property? Pardon?
Yeah, it was
Pre-COVID.
before COVID.
Okay.
COVID destroyed us. It absolutely destroyed us.
Yeah, and it was annual every single year up until 2020.
Yep.
I used to
And-
compete there at Pony
Um,
Club events and jumper nights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me, the most critical issue is, there's this rare beetle and sandplane habitat that is not clear to Catherine and her group where this is exactly, and I think many of the naturalists in our town could determine where this is, or, I think that would be helpful to the commission. Let's get on a map, what are the exact limits of sandplane habitat? Then we can talk about, is it a no-touch? Are parts of it a no-touch? Parts of it are just mow it at certain times, mow it with different techniques so that then it's fine. So for me, whether it's, do we have any money for or we can ask some of the naturalists who know about this to actually pound some stakes into the ground and we can have it surveyed or something like that. But until everyone knows where this critical habitat is, it's impossible for either the club or the Conscom to kind of know what makes sense in terms of management.
So Dan, I have a question for you about that because I care also about the beetle. But the beetle has coexisted with horseback riders at Foss for a long time. So I'm not sure there's like a defined area. I mean, we don't know much about the beetle's life cycle. So I'm kind of wondering, if the horseback riders and the beetles have been coexisting for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years.
About 50.
50 years.
Yeah.
And we know there's been equestrian use there all that time. So, I'm just wondering whether it's sort of scientifically backed to kind of like try to cordon one from the other, or maybe there's something synergistic even. We don't know. I don't know.
Well, part of it is just sandy, basic sandy conditions,
Right.
which,
But that whole area is sandplain, right?
right. So there could be acres of this. And so that's what I
Acres.
want to figure out, is there certain portions of that that are more important, have a greater density of beetles and other insects. And so that's, there have been beetle experts, coming to the site to document this. So let's try to tap into that.
That's a
And-
great idea.
Yeah. And we should find out whether, beetles mind having the occasional horse go through. I mean,
Right.
maybe they don't.
That was my understanding too, that, yeah, they can tolerate, they can't get out of the way of a vehicle so much, but they can feel the vibrations from hooves coming towards them and, fly out of the way or whatever. So, yeah, so it seems like there's likely a way to coexist. Back to the problem of the parking, I think that's a little bit of a deeper challenge of all the vehicles kind of going in and out. But in terms of the horses themselves, yeah, it's probably, there's a way for, everybody coexists perfectly in that kind of a situation.
Speaking of the parking, though, that's also long-standing historic use.
One day. It's
Yeah,
just-
but
Yeah, it was just one day.
Pretty
Yeah.
often, not just one day a summer. I mean, multiple
It
days.
usually was just one day a summer, unless, of course, they did something in the fall around
Well, the Pony
Halloween.
Club for a while had Wednesday night jumper.
Yeah, but I don't
outdoor
think they took
nights,
their,
and it was
parking
every
down there.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I was a fence judge, but anyway.
Is
So
that
yeah.
true, Catherine? Was it just a single
So I
event,
have
or-
no, so I have the historical record. So of course the challenge of all this is I didn't become the district commissioner until 2023. So I was not active in it when it was busy. But I have the sort of historical use from 2005 to 2007. And it looks as though they had a spring series, they had a spring fundraiser, which would have been a 2-phase event, which likely would have been open to sort of all Carlisle, Concord, greater Carlisle area equestrians. That would have definitely entailed multiple trailers. They
Yes.
tended to have and then they had a fall Halloween show, were sort of, I think, the two big things that they tended to do throughout the year. The jumper series, they definitely had them. It looks like there were jumper series every
Wednesday night, I
July,
remember.
yeah, in the summer. Yep.
Yeah, it was Wednesday night, and it was a big event, and lots of people came, so there were lots of trailers.
Yep. And there were
yeah, there
occasional
were
clinics. It looks like they had an
everything
Eric
from
Smiley
lead
clinic.
line up to something higher. And then there were mounted meetings, regular
Yep.
mounted meetings during the week with pony clubbers who, like the older ones teach the younger ones, or there would
Yep.
be a mounted clinic with a teacher in the fenced ring. So it was pretty busy. So I guess
I think ultimately our goal will be to try to do a spring event and a fall event. And that way that gives us, otherwise it would mostly be the club. And for that, parking in the parking lot is easy. It's more that if there was actually like a 2-phase show, which is a dressage and a jumper show. And ideally,
you're
if we can
saying
get
you
the
don't
cross
need parking
country
anywhere other than the parking lot then?
for the club itself, if we're just doing mounted meetings, no. It would be if we did a 2-phase, or we did the Halloween show, or something that involved opening it up to outside our specific club membership to the region, which would be ideal. So there are about 7 different pony clubs in the region, and ideally we each have an event that we host, and which I think has historically been the case when they do their spring show and their Halloween show.
My recollection from that
Okay.
time, and I didn't go down to everything, was that there was the 2-phase event, I think it was in June, and
Mhm.
the Halloween one, but there were the pony club itself events for training and stuff like that, weeknights.
Exactly.
And for those, the parking was up in the parking lot.
Yes, and that we would continue that.
Right.
It's really just the spring
Just
show and the Halloween show.
The two big events. And so what we need
Exactly.
to know is, would a one day in the spring or June and a one day in the fall be a disturbance to the beetles? That's what we don't know, and it would be helpful to find that out from experts. Not based on fear, but fact.
I
So
can
Sylvia,
look into this offline and see if I can find someone who is an expert in this who can help us map it out just so that we can be informed on the areas and what a critical area means and what disturbs beetles and all that.
And then
So-
also maybe they can give us recommendations on how to manage a multi-use situation. So
Sure.
we don't damage the beetles, but we also don't deny the use unnecessarily.
So I have a couple of hands that have been waving at me for the last 10 minutes. Christina, what have you got?
Hi, thank you. A couple of things, if I may. I think that this conversation is going in this direction, but I think big picture of what the use of phospharm overall, I think needs to play into this, as opposed to just deciding per individual use, like in a little silo, because everything does interact. So I think it's important just to keep the overall picture of what phospharm will look like. It ties in with what Sarah is trying to work on as well. I think it could be potentially, as Sylvia mentioned earlier, things in the environment change, right? And so the last time it was used was pre-COVID for the Pony Club. So I think trying to reestablish solely based on what was historically done there, perhaps may not be 100% the best way to approach this, because since the last time it was used, there's been habitat restoration. It's more than just the beetles. It's also blazing star and some other, I believe, state listed species in there. So instead of trying to necessarily recreate what was historically done, perhaps a little modification might be needed to take into consideration what has been done in the interim period when the Pony Club wasn't there. So I would hate to see the efforts sort of be rolled back, trying to recreate what was done historically. I think there's a way to do this. I love hearing the fact that more information will be garnered on what the beetle habitat can tolerate, but it is more than just the beetles there. So I just wanted to say that. So a little flexibility, I think, would go a long way. Thank you.
Let me just add that I agree with what you said, Christina, but I'd be curious to see how the Pony Club events have matured and changes since they weren't able to come to Carlisle and operate. Have they gone elsewhere? Did they change their events? Are there things that they would rather do when they come back to Carlisle? So I'm just adding that comment.
Yeah, and if I may just continue on that theme, if some of these larger events can take place somewhere else, that could be a way to sort of balance everything as well, so that the Pony Club can use it for the Pony Club. But if it's larger events that require parking on very sensitive areas, maybe those larger events could take place somewhere else. So maybe it can be sort of this compromise to have a win-win-win situation, as opposed to have it be a detriment ecologically. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve.
Hi, I was going to say that if you're looking for somebody with expertise, the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program is where I would go. I think we should be able to tap into them.
I think Megan was writing that down.
Thanks,
I hope.
Steve.
If I may, one of the things that I wanted to also mention, part of the reason we try to run the spring show and the Halloween show is as a fundraiser for Phospharm. So we have a small amount of money set aside through the club from those events that is dedicated to the maintenance of Phospharm. If we don't have a way to raise money, we don't have a way to maintain it. At least the Pony Club doesn't. So realistically, that is what those events were were designed as fundraisers where the funds exclusively went to the maintenance of those areas at Foss Farm.
That's a very good point. Thank you. All right, so this is an important but complex issue that I don't think we're going to solve tonight. We need more information.
Is there anything that the Pony Club could get cracking on that isn't controversial? Like ring repairs for the jump ring?
We would want to ideally drag it. I believe there is a drag there. I do not know the condition that it's in. The barn that I currently board at is willing to bring, we're just over the border in Bedford. And so we have a ring drag that we could potentially bring over very slowly behind a tractor.
So if you guys could drag the ring and you could fix the boards, so you have like,
Mhm.
you don't
And we
have
would want
to
to trim some of the trees. I was
trim
looking
a
at
couple
video.
of limbs so the
Yeah.
kids don't get
They're
decapitated.
a little low. Exactly.
Right,
And you
yeah.
have a kiosk down there that's in trouble.
Yes, that's got to get,
Right,
yeah,
and
that's
fix
got to
the
get
kiosk.
updated.
Why couldn't they get started on that? I mean, that doesn't affect the Beatles.
Well, who's they, Melissa?
Pony Club. But they would do
So-
that under their own aegis, right?
Yeah. So again, we do have a small amount of money set aside for Foss from the previous fundraisers that we can certainly use to purchase new fence rails. That for the gate, I think, is the biggest hot mess that's part of the fenced in arena. Trim the trees, the branches that are overhanging the arena, and drag it. Which
Yeah, and at least they can use their arena that way. I mean, it is a fenced off arena. It's not, I mean, it's still an equestrian facility.
It's in use.
Yeah, that doesn't, it's in use. So I
Yeah.
don't see anything terribly controversial about that unless others do.
Unless somebody said that was the major population of the Beatles. I have no
Nobody's
idea.
identified. There's nothing on my naturalist that shows them in the arena.
Just asking.
I looked.
You have to ask. I know.
No, it's reasonable, but nothing on there. No.
So, Melissa, are we looking for a recommendation from the Pony Club to say, here are the things that we would like to do based upon funds available, and let us say,
They had a
okay?
big presentation in tonight's packet, which they have not gone through.
I do have it up.
Yeah, but so
I can try to share my screen.
Is that a separate item? Sorry, I
I
saw.
don't
it's
see
it's
it.
in this subfolder. Yeah.
I couldn't find it, so I didn't.
Oh, I looked at it. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
wanted
I
to.
looked at it too.
I looked at it.
This is, I don't know if you guys can see that. This is what we had for
Yeah.
sort of the spring plan.
Right.
So the things that are immediately easy, that don't require a lot of funds and probably a lot of effort, would be to trim so items number 2 and 3 and 5 for just the fenced in ring.
Mhm.
Those would be items that would be relatively straightforward. And number 9 to replace the kiosk or repair it. I haven't looked at it in a while. It may be beyond repairing.
So, Megan, is this something that we could make a recommendation based upon information provided tonight to let the Pony Club make repairs based upon their best assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it seems that generally, from what I can tell, the commission is in favor of the Pony Club using the land for equestrian activities. It's just a question of the specifics of the maintenance that really need to be ironed out and the other land uses in the area. But it seems like the maintenance items listed here 2, 3, 5, and 9, 6 maybe wouldn't really have an effect on the land if it's all happening within the ring area. So I mean, to me, if some progress can be made while we figure out
The
what
bigger
areas
plan.
are critical to
Mhm.
different critical species, then I think that's fine.
I would think we would want to add, we would do 1, 2, 3, 4. The rings are, the rings, and 5. 6. And then, if we want to discuss mowing fields at some other point, that's reasonable. And the cross-country course, because that needs some definition. But 9 is the kiosk. So the only things I see that are controversial here maybe are the mowing the fields and the defining and mowing the cross-country course. And even that I don't find terribly controversial personally, but
But I would think we need a recommendation from the Pony Club, what they would recommend as far as 7 and 8 go.
Well-
yeah, maybe true, George.
And just to confirm for number 6, are the jumps you're talking, these are inside the ring, or you're talking about jumps that are?
There are 2 sets. There are the jumps that are inside the rings. Some of them are in great condition, some of them need replacing, and those are relatively straightforward to replace. There are the cross-country jumps. Some of them, quite frankly, are dangerous at this point, for not only for horses, but for kids and dogs to be around. I was cross-country skiing over the winter, and there are definitely exposed nails, exposed screws. The wood is breaking down and rotting. I would argue that they are not safe. However, that's going to be a bit more of an undertaking to get those out and replaced. And those, of course, they are expensive. Good, well-made cross-country fences are expensive. So that's an endeavor that, depending upon where we need to be going, we're not going to start there.
I would just say remove but not replace would be approvable. Replacing those might be a little bit more controversial depending on where they are.
Okay. Good discussion, because that has to do with number 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
It might
routing.
be good to leave them there for future reference. We might want to move them around or whatever.
Or at least flag and stake where they were.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
make
yeah,
them
that's a good
safe.
idea.
Yes.
Okay.
So, which items did we land on being not controversial? Sorry, I just want to make sure.
Everything
7.
except 6, 7, and 8, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
6, we can do the jumps inside the arena. Those are most of them are in okay
Yes,
shape. Some of the
right.
jump
I
stands
agree.
are a mess.
Yeah.
And just to be clear on number 1, the saplings, and you have a picture, that's what you're talking about, just those ones that are in the picture?
Yeah,
Circled?
so it is the west end of the dressage ring. So that is the unenclosed ring. So there are essentially 2 rings. There's the closed-in ring, and there's the open dressage ring.
And they've probably been there growing up for the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Of
only,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
saplings growing into the ring.
Yeah.
Can I ask Christina one more comment?
Hi, thanks. I actually had just had a question. Is there also a cross-country course in oh my gosh, the state park? I'm drawing a blank.
Yes.
At Great Brook.
Great Brook. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
There
It's been a
is,
long day.
again, most of the jumps are not usable. They're not in great shape. There's a handful that are okay. But a lot of them have also fallen into disrepair and would not be safe to take a horse over.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
What I've
And I
seen.
would just add that when you're doing a little 3-phase or 2-phase event, the kids show up and they ride a dressage test, and then they ride their little cross-country course, and then they do a little stadium jumping course. They can't go over to the state park and maybe take some of these jumps that maybe or maybe not maintained and then drive back. So they need to stay on site in a safe place. So it's not that's not how events work.
We need the
Understood.
horse
Thanks for
teleporter.
clarifying.
What's that?
Right? Wouldn't that be nice?
I said
Yeah.
we need the horse teleporter. Right?
Hell's
Save a lot in
yes.
gas.
Yeah, there's no ring or, dressage ring or anything over at Great Brook. So
It's up to you, Brian. Get the teleporter working.
As soon as gas goes back down to $2 a gallon.
Dream on. All right. So,
do we take
the
a vote?
question is, what do we need to do with this motion? I agree with Catherine that we are in general agreement that this is something worthwhile for Carlisle to pursue. We appreciate the Pony Club being willing to step up and help us make it look right and make it operable. But I look to Megan to say, is there a motion that we need to make at the moment other than a supportive motion?
I think you could authorize them from the discussions that you just had to go through with 1 through 5 and 9, and then the remaining items we can discuss at a later date after we have more information on the area.
I'll make that
Is that-
motion, but I think we also said on 6, they could remove the jumps that are inside the rings, right?
There you go. Yep.
Right.
They can remove and replace inside the ring, and then outside the ring, they can remove but not replace. Is that too complicated?
Yes,
No, it's
that's not too complicated. It needs
Not
to
too
be
complicated
safe.
for me, Dan. Yeah. And maybe flag them if they remove them so we know where they were.
You just need to make them safe, is my guess.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Logistically, getting them out. What would be helpful to know at some point, and I can circle back with Megan on this or whomever, vehicle access to that area to get them out. We can't just like pick them up and move them
Yeah, they're
by
heavy.
hand.
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Can't you bring a team of horses?
No, not my mare. She'll be in the trees.
Very
Can't hear
good,
a word
Ryan.
you're saying.
Talk about dragging.
Yeah.
Probably 9.
Do not eat at the camera.
All right, I need a motion to accept items 1 through 5, 9, and 6 for inside only.
I think I
and
did that.
outside to make safe.
How about
Yeah, Brian did that.
So,
I'll
okay,
second Brian's motion.
thank you very much. I just want to put it on the record. We'll take a roll call vote. Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome. Megan will
I'm sorry,
follow
do
up
we have that
just for
document in
clarification.
our records?
Yeah, I'll send
Oh, yeah, it's in the
you.
packet.
It is in the packet? Okay. Just
Yeah,
wanted
there's
to
And I'll
no-
send a follow-up email to Catherine about what that motion just entailed, just so we have it on record.
Thank you.
And could
That
you
makes
send it to
sense.
me? Because I couldn't find it in the packet. I don't know why.
Yes.
I think it's item 7.
Item 5.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry, 5.
Five.
Yeah, it's in there.
There was a lot of information.
That's how I
agree.
found it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It is
Thank you
after
so much.
7:50.
Thank you.
Item number 6, discussion of interim maintenance of Woodward Fields. Do we have someone from CCF or CR holder or whatever who would like to discuss this? Or Megan, do you want to start the discussion?
Yeah, I can start the discussion. I just wanted to put this on the agenda because the commission had a site visit last Thursday at Woodward Fields, and we actually had a really good turnout. We had 3 commissioners, abutters, people from multiple stakeholder groups, CCF, Trails, ESC, AgCom. So it was well attended, and it was really great to walk around. Jonathan DeCock and Steve Tobin kind of led us around based on their knowledge of the site. So it was very informal. And following that site visit, I just put together a site visit report to outline kind of everything we went over. And so that was one of the reasons I wanted to put this on the agenda, was just to follow up on that site visit. But really, the summary of the report and the site visit was that there are some items that the commission should consider taking some action on. I think we're seeing on a couple different conservation lands, but specifically Woodward, that we know we want to come up with some kind of long-term maintenance plan, right, of what we're going to do with the land. But until we get there, there is some maintenance that is going to have to be done so that it doesn't get so out of control. So there was concerns about the state of the invasives on site. Maybe I can just pull up the report in case it's useful for people to see.
27, just felt really, I give
A
you
little bit more would be nice.
warmer. I'll give you another boost. I'd already given you one, but I give it, though, you're going to 70. You're getting, you're getting. It's gonna chill, chill.
Warren Spence, could you mute yourself? We're hearing. Oh,
It is muted.
thank you.
Yeah, I just muted him, sorry. Um, okay, so yes, this is the report, so I can just kind of run through. Oh, did I just mention? So yeah, we discussed some parking, possible parking on site. We don't have to get into all the details, but I'm just gonna, kind of scroll through here. Let me know if anyone has any questions. There was some concerns about the invasive species on site. And specifically some old metal fencing that is making it difficult to reach the invasives. So, something to consider is possibly removing the fencing, and trimming back the vegetation so that we are able to get to the invasives before they take over. There are some nice mature trees over here that are currently being overtaken by invasives, so it would be great if we could save those before it's too late. And then there was an ask to determine the wetland resources on the site, in this area marked with a red box because we don't have a formal determination of that area yet. So in order to do the invasive removal, we just want to know if it's in CONSCOM jurisdiction or not. And also mowing of the field, if we want to preserve it as a field area, we have to keep mowing. So, we have to mow to prevent the woody vegetation from growing in. So that's just something for the commission to consider in the interim. And then was some discussion about an easement along the property and an abutter at 106 Maple Street that needs some straightening out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see.
As a picture of the fence, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see the property line staked out the boundary. And then some rolled up fence. Do we want people to come by and grab it? The concern is that if this isn't taken off of the site soon, then invasives and other woody species would grow through them and make it difficult to remove off site. So we just want to be preventative of that given the difficulties we have with the fence that I just alluded to earlier. And then, just some small things. There's some metal stakes kind of scattered throughout the fields. So, are those necessary or can we remove those to make mowing easier? Removal of a downed tree. Just, cut it up and get rid of it as it's close to the trail area and, a downed tree on our property. So, how we want to handle that. And then, just pointing out some of the parking spaces available at Woodward Village to give access to the trail in the Woodward Fields. So that's a lot of information. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of summarize the site visit for the commission and see if you were interested in considering any interim maintenance actions, or if you wanted to wait for LSC to be up and running before you act, or if there's some items that you think you should address now and some you can address later. And of course, any action we take on the property because of the conservation restrictions, I'll be sending out letters to CCF to inform them of what we're doing and make sure that it is in compliance with the current CRs. So yes, that is my summary.
So Megan, I think what you're asking for is that we as a commission need to look over the report that you put together and make some recommendations on what we think is important that we start now. I know Jonathan and Steve were very interested in getting our support to start clearing the land, especially before things start to really grow again. And it's going to be very difficult to take down the fence that's totally engrossed in various vegetation and so on. But at this point, I'm not clear what it makes sense for us to do now, and we don't have an LSC to put the details in. I'm wondering if we should jump to the LSC portion of this discussion and then come back to this.
Well,
George, actually, I've got some thoughts about this.
Be my guest.
Okay. So, I, when this entire row of spruces came down in a microburst on my property in 2001, they revealed like a 200-foot stretch of bittersweet that was 50 feet deep. Pretty awful. And I engaged a local Carlilian who has an excavator, and he was able to pry up just massive amounts of bittersweet. And we hired like a great big, we hired a company that would take all that away and burn it or do whatever they do with invasive plants. And we cleared literally 200 feet by 50 feet in like one day. So I'm thinking if we could hire someone like that, and I certainly have recommendations, but uh, we could pull up the fence, pull up a lot of the vines with it. I'm not sure what's required to separate the fence from the vines, but that's going to have to be done anyway. But we could, you know, scourge that area and delete, pull the vines up as much as possible by the roots with an excavator, and just, with a little grabby paw, and just rip it out of the ground and try to get as much of the invasive root as possible out of there, along with the fence. Because I don't think with the fence there, the old metal rusting fence, we can maintain the land at all. I mean, it's going to grow back otherwise. And one of the issues in the CR is having sight line from the roads and also improving for traffic safety. And plus, if we don't tackle what's growing on the fence, we'll never get to what's growing up the trees and going to kill the trees. So I'm thinking that would be an expeditious way to approach it. Just rip that stuff out of the ground, grab those great big bittersweet roots and just, those, Tarzan coils, and just yank them up. And then I think, we should consider, in addition to mowing, we might consider grazing too, because, mowing, you're doing the whole field, but we have milkweed at the north end of the property. And we know that grazing animals don't eat milkweed. So we might find that that's a more, how should we say, multi-use, sensible way. It's not that the grazing animals are going to deal with it the whole season, but if we could do a combination of some mowing, tactical mowing to keep the non-native foxtail seed heads, annual seed heads, from forming early, and we can't wait till June to do that. And then we have to do it a second time. And then maybe do a graze so that we get whatever else there is without disturbing the milkweed, which we do want to preserve. I'm just kind of wondering if whoever we might let graze there could put in like stakes and do what we call rotational grazing, with a solar fence or something and a little electric cord. They can plant that themselves. They'd be responsible for their own fencing. Or as we're removing fencing, they have to fence part of it, not the whole thing. We could do it in 2 tranches. That might make it easier for anybody that wants to graze an animal, as well as us, because we can't do it all in one go. Maybe that's a good strategy, but I really strongly think that waiting till June, July, until we have LSC reconstituted and then trying to tackle it, we're just going to make the problem like 10 times worse.
Well, I understand your concern because there's a whole heck of a lot of things to do, but what we need is a plan with priority base saying, all right, I want this section of the fence pulled down. I can't afford to do this one now. We're going to have to do A, B, C, and we need to make a plan that makes sense. And
Well,
we
so
only
what's a
have a
board
limited
meeting?
budget too.
Yeah, what
So-
do we have for budget? I guess that's a great question.
So I was just gonna say, I think the first step is for the commission to decide, do we want to remove the fence? So like if tonight the commission decided that they wanted to remove the fence and in some way or another tackle the invasives, then I can work behind the scenes and figure out a few different ways to make that happen. One of them will be making sure we're not within wetland jurisdiction, or if we are, we, get the right permitting. I can check with DPW to see if they can help us, or I can check with contractors and get some cost estimates of what it would be to pull it out like you're describing. But I think the first step is just deciding, like, do we want to take the fence out and tackle the invasives? Yes, then I can follow up offline. No, then we don't.
I think we want to remove the fence and get rid of the invasives. Yeah. They're horrible. It's a
I agree,
disaster
but
zone.
it's not up to me. Is the rest of the commission in
Okay,
favor of that?
I'm in favor of that.
Melissa, I like the idea. I think talking about grazing is too much. Let's start with one thing. Let's talk about this fence. And so I support removing the fence and the invasives near it as kind of a step one. And Megan, in your packet, you had Jonathan Deacock had suggested some steps. Should we talk about those and potentially, at least as a starting point?
Yeah, it looks like he has his hand up if you're okay with him speaking, George.
Please go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, so yeah, CCF would really like to see these invasives managed. And so I guess to Megan's point, I think what we'd like to see is just to start the ball rolling, which would be a decision by the commission to go ahead and start removing the fence and have her figure out what's the proper way to do that. The only thing that would give me a little bit of pause on that is, in the spirit of collaboration with multiple committees, you might want to ask AgCom if they're okay with you removing the fence, because the fence is there for containing grazing animals. And so if you decided to make a motion to remove the fence, I would just add a caveat that Megan checks with AgCom to make sure that they're okay with it.
Or
That's a
if they
good
want
point.
it.
Yeah, well, that's the second thing. So then the second part that I was going to say is there is a stockpile of fencing there, and we're quite worried that it will become an immovable mass if the invasives grow up through it. And so I don't think the commission wants to have the invasives grow up through it, nor do I think you necessarily want to just authorize the public to show up and grab it, because I think that would cause trouble, right, with the abutters having a whole bunch of cars show up trying to find fencing. But I think if you authorize Megan to say, let's find a solution to remove the fencing from the site that's already been, that's in the stockpile, then I think, that would be a good thing to do. And then you need to come up with a fair process for how to dispose of it, right? Because there's a lot of in-town uses where it could be used. There's a lot of farmers that could use it. There's a lot of individuals that might be interested in it. And then there's the question of, the other fencing. Should we try to remove it in a way that preserves it, or should we just yank? So.
But you can yank the posts and preserve the fencing.
Yes. I'm just saying that independent of that question, I think the question of authorizing Megan to move the stockpile either by DPW or by some other means, right, by some volunteer means, like I could come and get it as garden manager, for example, but just authorize Megan to move the stockpile off site, I think would be advisable.
That's a good approach. I like that.
But then we have to manage the fencing that we're going to take down, and I presume roll up in a similar manner.
Well,
Yes,
if we
and
can
so
remove it
having-
by yanking the posts, then we can preserve the fencing, and it can be repurposed.
But
Reused,
I guess
recycled.
my point is the simple thing for tonight would be just to authorize Megan to do what you were talking about with removing the fencing, and then authorize Megan to figure out a way to move the fencing that's down and the fencing that comes down off site. And then
Agreed. Okay.
Then later you can figure out what's the proper way to dispose of it, right?
Well, there's the fencing that's all rolled up. And do we want to make that available for the public? And if what the commission wants to make that available for the public, can we get it to some place that's where it's not a problem for the public to come and pick it up? Like
Yeah,
the
like the
far end
DPW.
of the of the
Yeah. It's
of
only
the
3 rolls.
parking lot at Town Hall, for example.
I'm sure we can move the 3
Yeah.
rolls somewhere else that they can pick it up.
Yeah, I could bring it
Right.
to town hall and people can pick it up from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
when-
And we
Right.
could offer it to the town first and to farmers second and to everybody else third, maybe something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have to come up with a disposal plan. I would just say getting it off site now would be the important thing.
Right.
So, but it can get complicated to come up with a proper disposal plan because, to avoid any possible corruption, like you can't give it to me, for example. That would be inappropriate, as much as I might want it.
Because
Unless you're doing it
corrupt.
for the gardeners.
Yeah, if I'm doing it for a town purpose, but then you'd have to weigh, my purpose for the garden, for the community gardens against any other possible town use.
Oh, we can have a
Right.
lottery.
Well, I mean, just thinking Chris Benny said, hey, it might be something that's useful for beavers, right? So yeah, he thought so. So I'm just saying, I don't think you can make a decision on how to properly dispose of it tonight because there's too many unknowns. But making a decision to get it off the site into a place where it can be managed later is a good one.
Good idea. So maybe we can start at DPW and then negotiate.
Yep.
All right, thank you,
But yeah, so that's up to
Jonathan.
Megan.
Steve. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan. Did you have a motion, or I was gonna?
Steve has his hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've taken out a fair amount of that fence, and the fence is wired to the posts. So you can't just pull the posts up separately. And there's so much junk growing around the posts and the fence that you'd have to do a bunch of cutting just to get to the wire that holds the fence to the post. So I'm dubious that if you start yanking on it, you're going to be able to save the fencing itself.
So how valuable is the fencing? Because I think we have to consider the value of the fencing versus the cost of removal of the invasives. So if the fencing is worth, $3, for a 10-foot span, but it costs $30 for a 10-foot span to remove the invasives, I don't think we're saving anything by saving the fencing.
Yeah, I think it
Well,
only
yeah.
makes sense to remove the fencing if you can do it for free in a way that's salvageable. So that would be volunteers showing up to work on it. And one of Chris Benny's ideas was to have to offer it to the gardeners that show up to help remove it. So
I love that idea. I'm all in favor of volunteer.
I don't know if you could, given that it's encrusted in poison ivy, I'm not sure how many volunteers would show. You might
there's
get.
not that much poison ivy.
Oh, yes, there is.
Oh, there is.
There's
You just
some.
didn't
There's
see it because
some.
It's not in
out yet.
season yet.
There are sections that don't have it.
Yeah. But in any case, I don't know how many volunteers we could get, but you could try something for free, and then when that doesn't work, then you can try something less free.
Yes.
And
So-
Good
multiflora
idea.
rose isn't exactly wonderful to deal with either.
Yeah.
Right.
Christina, you had a comment?
Hi, thank you. I was on the site visit for part of it anyways, and there was this one small section that had housed a wood duck nest. It seemed to be like a wood duck nest area. I'm wondering if that little section could be sort of marked off so that any so that heavy equipment maybe isn't used in that one little area. So maybe a little more gentle approach in that one area to maintain it for wood ducks. So that's all.
Megan,
Thanks.
do you have that on your list or location?
No, I'm not sure what area.
Steve Tobin
Um,
had pointed it out. It's relatively close to the road and close to the driveway of the abutter.
Do you think you
When
could
do-
bring up the plan? And Steve
Yeah, I can bring
is
it
still
up
on
right
the call.
now.
He could tell us where that is.
Well, when do you think they're going to fledge, and therefore we don't have to worry about it?
Well, actually, it's woodcocks and
Right.
not wood ducks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Apologies.
Yeah.
I was like, where is there water over there?
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you go along the driveway that's kind of on the bottom edge of the property,
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Um,
Sorry,
There it
where's
is.
the cursor's zooming around here?
yeah, that edge but there's kind of a greenish area, a little left of center.
Right there?
That's wet in there,
Uh-huh.
and that's where they are.
It's isolated.
Okay.
There's no fencing there.
There is fencing.
Oh, there is?
Where's the
There's fencing
fencing?
around the entire field. Yep.
No, where's the fencing near the woodcocks?
It's about where, let's see. It's a little above the yellow line. So the property line and the fence are pretty
I'm
close
sorry.
to each other.
I'm really confused.
Sorry, I'm just trying to roughly.
Oh, okay. And
I
the
know where the
fencing is,
woodcock.
So
where's the fencing?
The fencing is south of that rectangle.
Okay,
between
between
the
that and the
rectangle
yellow
and the-
line, Steve?
Yeah, it's between the rectangle and the yellow line.
All right, so we'll try to, we can avoid the woodcocks if we are careful about how we remove the fencing.
Just flag the area.
Yep, good idea.
It's wet anyway, so you probably wouldn't be in there with big equipment.
Yeah.
All right, Christina, thanks for that issue that I'm sure we can manage. So I'm having trouble figuring out where we stand at the moment and what we want to do next.
Yeah, me
So
too.
we need a motion to authorize Megan to find a solution for how to dispose of the fence. And we need to vote to authorize someone to cut the invasive species between the meadow and the fence so they can get to the fence.
Well, why do that if you're just going to rip them all up by their roots, you know? So I think we need to decide whether we're trying to salvage the fence as a precious item or whether we're trying to go in there and aggressively get rid of all the invasives, and some of the invasives are ensnared in fencing that we don't care about.
One of the problems about, quote, getting rid of all the invasives, unquote, is, okay, so you pull it up, then what?
Well, there's a company in New Hampshire that sends down, semi-truck, and they'll take it away. They hate it, but they'll take it. And then they burn it or dispose of it in some way.
Yeah, but
where it can't regenerate.
there are roots still in the soil, even if you tear up the majority of it.
Yes, there
So
are,
I
but if you
think-
clip it, your roots are much worse.
I think that the more like long-term plan can be figured out later, but I think for now it would just be good to agree on like, okay, we want to remove the fence and we want to remove the invasives, and then I can try to do some work offline to give us some options of what would be more feasible if
That
we
sounds
save the
fine.
fencing, if we don't, and then later we can decide on what to do more specifically. But I think it would be good to have the go ahead to look into that and have a consensus on
That sounds fine to me. I do think you want to look at options that include doing the two together, just because I don't know for sure, but I just would counsel there may be some massive savings involved, and also better result if we do the two together. But to Jonathan's point, we should consult with AgCom, because if AgCom wants to come and take away the fencing and remove the invasives for us, great. I doubt it, but
Dream on.
But I do think we should consider as one option a combo where we don't care about salvaging this old rusty metal fence. We care about getting rid of the invasives and doing as effective a job on that as we can. And clipping them is not an effective job. That just inspires their growth.
Can we do a flamethrower?
Controlled burn with the fire department? I don't think so, but okay.
So I'm comfortable just skipping the salvage and just, going right to getting it all out of there. So pending AgCom not wanting it, would that be the motion, I guess?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, I'll make that motion that we authorize Megan to pursue having the fence and whatever invasives
yanked out of there.
Totally removed, only if AgCom doesn't object or doesn't want the material.
And have a different approach.
Yeah, exactly. Have a better solution or a different
Better solution, yeah.
Can I make one addition to that? I
Sure.
think it'd be important to do it before the invasive plants go flower and start going to seed.
Oh, yeah. The time to do it is now. That's the big
Yeah,
issue. It's like,
yeah.
wait, the more we wait, we're in the growing season.
Oh, next week.
It's going to get worse and worse. It's going to get harder and more
Well,
expensive.
we're just gonna have to do the best we can.
Right.
Well, better now than later, cheaper now than later.
I understand. We should have been doing this a month ago. Where you
Yeah.
been?
Yeah, so let's not delay.
There was too much snow on the ground.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have a proposal to get those invasives out, trying to figure out whether or not to salvage the fences and do it as quickly as possible. So can I get who did I get here? I think Dan and
We didn't get a second yet.
Second.
yeah,
Oh,
Melissa and okay. And Dan. We'll take a roll call vote, please. Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Sylvia.
I
Chair votes aye, the motion passes.
I thought I saw Nick here. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, George, I just joined. I'm not going to vote on this one because I joined towards the end of
Okay,
it. I am
so
here.
you got in around 8:50 or something?
We had
Yeah.
some other issues on Megan's list, right? Like removing that tree that was right down in the middle of a trail and some other things.
Oh, you're talking about at the end there where the tree went down?
Yeah.
That's I
We
know
need
the
to vote, or
homeowner
can-
would like to have that happen. Right now, our priority is trying to get rid of those invasives as much as
Right, but I
possible.
think we had Trails Committee people volunteering to just take care of it for us. Can we just authorize them to do that?
If they're willing.
Do we have somebody from Trails Committee here that can
We do.
speak?
Steve.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. I'll work with the landowner.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
That's great.
I also had a question. If I can go in there and remove some of the bittersweet that's strangling trees,
What a great
irrespective of
idea.
all this other stuff, is that okay?
I think that's a
Yeah,
great idea.
you'd just be cutting, right? You wouldn't be doing
Right,
any earth disruption.
right. I'm just cutting
Okay.
bittersweet so it dies on the tree.
Yeah, I think that's fine in my view.
Me too. Do we have to vote on that, or can we just
I
tell Steve
moved
what a
to-
wonderful person he is?
I'll authorize Steve to remove the tree and to cut bittersweet on the vine as
Second.
I
Can I suggest an amendment that you say Steve and friends?
Good point.
Yeah, Steven,
Or
Steven.
persons
Under
persons
Steve's
under
direction.
Steven team.
yeah, persons under Steve's supervision.
Yeah, Steve and
Okay.
people under Steve's supervision. Yes.
I'll adopt the amendment.
Me too.
Stephen Friends. All right. So Dan, can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Well, okay. Sylvia, you got it this time. Melissa, you had it last time. Okay,
That's
we're good.
okay.
All right, we're now going to page 4 of
Really,
my
roll call
agenda.
vote. We need to vote.
We do have 5.5 pages. Anyway.
You have to take a vote, George.
George, we got to do the vote.
Oh, all right. Sorry, you're right. We did the first vote. I didn't do the second. So, Sylvia,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
and Nick is abstaining. The chair votes aye. We're good to go.
Okay. Thank you, George.
Sorry. Nobody's going to keep me in order here. All right. Well, we're almost an hour late, but no big deal. Item 7, Woodward Village Special Permit for Residential Open Space and Community, ROSC, documents. Covenant for operation and maintenance of common areas and trail easement and public access easement. That's a lot of stuff here. So, Megan, you had considerable red issues on the agenda. Can you summarize that right now?
Yeah, sure. So, pursuant to their 2019 special permit decision, the planning board is asking for the Conservation Commission to review the ROSC draft documents. The two documents related to conservation are the covenant for common areas and the trail easement, as you mentioned. And so I reviewed the covenant document, and it had some descriptions of some of the maintenance that would be done to some of the stormwater infrastructure. And so my overarching comment was just that I think that the covenant should just directly reference the approved order of conditions and long-term operation and maintenance plan as source documents instead of trying to paraphrase some of the requirements and then potentially missing them. And that's how I feel it's currently drafted, so I just rather have it reference the actual source documents. And then I reviewed the trail easement document. This is definitely, not in my expertise, but the Trails Committee also reviewed and gave the okay with the document. Um, so yeah, that's all I have to report. So the planning board is really just looking for the commission to give some feedback, take a vote on whether or not they approve of the documents or if they have comments that they want to see changes made to the documents, because they're trying to get the ball rolling on this.
So let's take an assessment of each document individually. The covenant comments, and you recommended referencing the original documents as far as restrictions go. Any other commissioners have any comments on that particular document?
I did have one. I don't know if anybody else does or not.
No, go ahead, Sylvia.
And there was a sentence that says erosion shall not be carried into any storm drainage system. And I would like to suggest adding wetlands to that list. And also, I didn't see anything there, but I didn't look at the order of conditions about snow storage. If there's a lot of snow, there's a stream crossing there, so I don't know what happened this winter with any snow. There was a snow storage thing. But more important is, how does the town know that all this maintenance is happening? Like all the times that the streets get swept and the sumps get cleaned out and things like that. Is there a reporting mechanism or not? I just don't remember.
I mean, in terms of how it relates to the Conservation Commission with the stormwater infrastructure,
Right.
I don't remember seeing any like annual reports that had to be submitted to the commission. So I think it's not necessarily that they have to report, but if something, if they're not cleaning out their catch basins and maintaining other stormwater infrastructure, then they're not in compliance with the ongoing conditions of the order. So at that point, like if we got complaints that things aren't being maintained, then we could take enforcement action to make them come back into compliance. I don't know about the other maintenance items relating to what planning board maybe requires from the condo association. But yeah, relative to that type of stuff, as well as probably snow disposal and what was permitted to happen long term, I think we can enforce that regardless of these documents.
Right. The only other thing I noticed is that just about all the names that are listed on those documents are no longer on the commission. So they got to change the names for the signatures.
Well, as I recall, they were required to sweep the roads twice a year.
Correct. Yeah.
And you're right. And then you have to report that to A, B, and C. And
Yeah.
it's not defined.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one thing to have all this maintenance required and another thing to make sure it's done.
So this is the planning board that's
Yes.
looking for our approval. Do we want to provide them with comments based upon what we think makes sense, such as, maintaining assessment of when requirements are accomplished or blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, I think I can send all the comments that have been discussed tonight. It's not necessarily that like they need us to approve of the documents right now. It's just they want to get our comments because they're going to send that to town council, and then town council will work with the probably condo association or the applicant and kind of iron everything out and make sure it's incorporated. and then, maybe before it's finalized, we'll get another look at it. But like I said, it's not necessarily that you have to give like approval as it is right now. They're just looking for our feedback so they can incorporate our feedback into the final documents.
All right, so it sounds like Sylvia had a pretty good set of feedback, one of which is the erosion control, make sure it doesn't get into the wetlands. Where does the snow storage take place? And when do we know when certain actions have taken place, such as sweeping roads and so on? So we just need to be able to, so when an action is completed and they notify who? Somebody?
Yeah.
Don't call me.
And this is a total side note, but I will just point out during the Woodward site visit last week when we were looking at the parking spaces at Woodward Village, the sign that they have for the parking is, I'm gonna have them correct that
Oh,
because
that's
it
great.
says from parking is allowed from dusk to dawn instead of dawn to dusk. So it's like a tiny thing,
They're
but
very good. Yeah.
it was pointed out to me, and so I feel like I have to mention it before we.
You have to.
Well, we
Okay.
still have them. Yeah.
That was pretty funny, actually. Yes.
Someone
And
was
the-
working too fast.
And those two lonely parking spaces that with the trash cans up at the end. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So can I get a motion for Megan to summarize the points that the commission has itemized in this conversation?
So moved.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, Nick, it's your turn. Is he still here? I was going to give him a chance to get his name into the record books. All right, I need a second. Somebody.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. We'll take a roll call vote. Whew. Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan. Is he still here, Dan? Yes.
Dang it.
Muted, Dan. Muted. Or he's in the men's room. Never mind. Sylvia?
Aye.
Nick, are you here?
Yes, aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye. And did Dan come back? Anyway, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
George, can I make
Yeah.
a request?
Sure.
Can we take can we go a little out of order and take item 9 now for the Eagle Scout proposal? I see that we have Brady here who is waiting for this item and we're a little behind. So
Yep. That's fine by me.
Is that okay, Brady? Are you prepared?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, George, if you just want to read the item and then we can get into it, that'd be
All
great.
right. Item 9, approve Eagle Scout proposal to create the Fisher Trail at the town forest as a connection to existing trails. And thank you very much for the map and the discussion on the agenda. Do you want to give us a quick summary?
I'd love to. So currently in the town forest, there's a dead end trail, and the Trails Committee is proposing that for my Eagle Scout project, we could blaze a new trail to connect that back to the existing trail network.
Okay, so I was looking at the map that you provided. Yes, you bring it up now. So it's down at the bottom. So you see the dark black Fisher Trail here in the middle bottom, and you're connecting that faint orange line there that goes back to the town forest trail, right? To the Fisher Trail, right?
Yes.
So that's where the connection goes, and then you go up to the Sandy's Path. Okay. And it looks like a reasonably straightforward that doesn't need any bridges or boardwalks.
It will not.
And how long do you think it's going to take to clear the trail?
About 1 day.
Okay. And is it just you, or do you have the troop working?
It's going to be me leading 2 groups of about 6 scouts doing it
Got it. Good for you. That's great.
with adult supervision.
Yeah, we need somebody from the town actually to help supervise that from an insurance standpoint. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Is Steve
Okay.
Tobin going to be that person, Brady?
I'm not sure.
There will be somebody from the Trails Committee there. This is Alan Ankers from the Trails Committee. There are three of us here at the meeting tonight, but
Oh, good.
there'll be somebody there during the work, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
It's just an issue of insurance for the town's safety and livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
As I pointed out earlier on another subject, in 2012, Hurricane Sandy went through the town forest and took a few days of the lives of the trail committee to clear. I was wondering if any of the fallen trees from that event are in this area and will need to be cut up or moved aside? Or was this area spared?
So from what I remember when I saw it last September, there were not that many fallen trees along the proposed route, but there were a couple. And what the Trails Committee suggested that we do was they have a company that will come clear them before the scouts get in there because we can't really do that ourselves.
They've got a company that can come and clear them?
Yep.
Oh,
That's what
the company being the Trails Committee, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. So if there is any fallen tree impediments, and they could be rather large ones, I assume, the Trails Committee will take care of that. It won't be the scouts wielding the chainsaws.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Would that be an insurance problem?
I don't know.
All right, any other issues from the commissioners? Any comments from the public? Then can I get a motion to accept the proposed trail amendment?
So moved.
Brian, one more. Second.
Second.
Sylvia got it.
You can have it. I'll give it to you.
It's all right.
Too late. I wrote Sylvia down. So we'll take a roll call vote, please. Nick,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan. Are you muted again, Dan?
He's still muted.
Or maybe he disappeared.
Well, sort of.
Sylvia,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you.
Good luck with your project, Brady.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Let us know when it's done. I'll go for a walk.
Yes.
I'll be sure to let you all know.
Did you see
That'd
the
be great.
Fisher?
No, I haven't seen a Fisher there yet.
Has anybody in the commission seen a Fisher in the town woods?
More than once.
Oh,
Dozens
yeah, I've
of
seen a
times.
Fisher in my backyard.
I've seen them in my backyard too.
No, I've not seen them. All right.
I've heard them,
Going back-
and they're really scary.
They are.
Something like a child screaming in the night.
Actually, they say that's not true. That is actually foxes. And the
I think
fishers.
that's the
Foxes.
foxes. Yeah, I think.
Okay, I've heard foxes. Sorry.
The fishers are a little more shy.
This is Mike Quayle. I'm Brady's dad. We live across the street from the town forest, and I've seen like 4 of them together in our yard.
Yeah.
Fishers?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not a fish. I hope you don't have chickens.
And no, we don't.
Well, if they did, they don't.
You're right, Sylvia.
But they have a great fence.
All right, thank you guys. Item number 8, review and approval of mowing scope of work for conservation land. Well, I see a lot of red lines here, Megan. Is there something a summary you'd like to make really quick?
Yes, really, really quick. So again, as we heard earlier, Sarah's going to be facilitating long-term management plans for many of our conservation lands in town. But while we work on developing and finalizing these plans, which will obviously take time, probably years, I think it's important for the commission to recognize that we have some short-term planning to account for. until our long-term planning is decided on. So our conservation fields still need to be mowed and maintained in the meantime while we work through deciding on these long-term land uses. So I've tried to develop a scope of work for the fields we have in town on conservation lands, with the understanding that the mowing would be executed over the next couple years, and it doesn't necessarily encompass the long-term goals of that land. It's just kind of like a temporary maintenance thing. And I guess one of the reasons I've been trying to get this on the agenda and push it forward with some urgency is because the fiscal year is ending on June 30th, and we still have approximately $40,000 left to spend from the LSC budget, and a large portion of that budget has been specified for mowing. Another portion has been specified for invasive species removal, and so we haven't really executed any of that work yet. And with the fiscal year ending at the end of June, I want to make sure that that money doesn't go to waste, and that hopefully we can get a contractor or a vendor to come in and do some mowing for us, because it seems like, from what I've heard from commission members, from my experience here, that the fields need to be maintained as fields, and we shouldn't let another growing season pass without probably maintaining some of them or all of them, whichever ones you all decide is more urgent. But I just want to emphasize again the end of the fiscal year coming up, so we have to really get a move on expending these funds before we lose them.
So you have 4 conservation lands that you are recommending. We could pick some or all or whatever. Do we have enough information to present a request for bids for each one of those, or all of them, or?
Well, I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't know if the commission would necessarily be ready to make that decision tonight. There's still like a few things in the mowing scope that I drafted that I would like clarity on, because I'm just not sure of. But hopefully tonight this like really starts the conversation, and the commission can really take a look at what I've drafted and give their input. I did realize in the version I sent out I didn't have Woodward on there, but I did add Woodward to the document. It's not loading right now. I was gonna pull it up. But yeah, I just want to get the conversation going so we can hopefully move this forward.
Megan, on timing, it's April 23rd, and so that gives us a week and a month before the end of the fiscal year.
2 months.
2 months, yes.
No, it's April 23rd, and
We have May and June to work.
May and June.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. That's better. Okay, never mind. Okay, so what's the procurement process takes how long?
So, the difficulty is that our meetings, right? So I think I would probably be able to get some quotes from different vendors. If I asked, I'm sure I could get quotes within a couple weeks. But I think the difficulty is, right, if we're not approving this scope tonight, say we approve the scope at the next meeting in May, then hopefully we get enough quotes in time for the next May meeting or early June meeting, because then the commission has to select a vendor. So it's more of the meetings that I think are gonna delay things and getting things in time for the meetings on the agenda with OML, and then having the commission vote. So I just am trying to get a little ahead of it. But I think if everyone, took a good look at it, and gave their comments, then maybe we can finalize it at the next meeting, and then I can send it to vendors. And I think that should give us enough time.
So what about pulling out a
Does the
special
money have
meeting?
to be spent in this fiscal year, or does it have to just be procured?
It just has to be selected, so we can
Selected and
encumber the
signed.
funds.
And signed, yeah.
Yeah. So if you selected someone on June 29th and we signed it on June 30th, I think we'd be okay, but I'd like to get a little ahead of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to sign the contract and then you can encumber it for the next fiscal year.
And the other thing is that it's better to mow before some of the annual invasives set their seed heads.
Yeah.
So optimally, we shouldn't be waiting till July if that means we're adding a huge invasive burden to the seed bank.
So, Megan, does it make sense to schedule a short meeting in 10 days' time to run through this and advertise it properly and just have one item on the agenda?
If you all want, it's up to you.
Well, I'm curious what my fellow commissioners think, because to me, I think these are all sort of urgent maintenance issues. But if you guys disagree, I'd love to learn.
To learn what our opinions?
Yeah, whether this is controversial or not, because I think, like the bog, I gather can't happen till ground is frozen. So that doesn't sound like it's on the table for this fiscal year. But the other
It's
three,
usually done in the past. It's been done in December when the ground.
the bog, right?
Yeah.
But the other three are done like in growing season. So
No, they were done in the fall, late.
they
fall.
were done in the fall?
Late fall. The problem is it wasn't done last year at all.
Right.
And
okay.
Toll was done the last 2 or 3 years in a 1/3 sort of. 1/3 we did, but one of the other thirds we had to do some of because of some situation there, and then another third it was invasive plant over there, so that had to be done. So although it was this attempt to do 1/3, it never really ended up that way, and it was always done like in November.
But I think the point is we're going to lose some money if we don't spend it. Therefore, we have to
We need to
get a contract in place for the 3 areas. Well, can we do a contract for the Cranberry Bog too, even though it's going to be in December?
Yeah, so we can contract it all out, even if we don't want the mowing to happen until the fall. It's just, it's about encumbering the funds so we don't lose them.
Okay.
And you have to have a signed contract for that.
Got it. So soliciting bids now doesn't obligate us. We could look at the bids as we decide priorities, right? I mean, actually getting bids would help us decide, no?
Yeah, I think so. Well, the way I see it in my idealistic vision is we kind of get quotes for, all of the lands I've laid out for the next 2 years or 3 years if the commission is comfortable with that. And then we can figure out the pricing and what we can actually afford, because it might work out that we can't afford all of the lands every year, based on our budget. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
Well, let's get the estimates for everything, and then we can
exactly.
whittle
My
it
point
down
is,
if required.
I want it to be, I want the decision to be informed by, like actual information of pricing rather than speculative pricing. I just want to see what the pricing would look like over a 2 to 3 year period, and then we can figure out how we handle the maintenance from there.
That sounds prudent.
And of course, things change with gasoline and stuff. The other thing is that at the Cranberry Bog, we have, hopefully a final application for the, it's not knotweeds, the other one. Phragmites, yes, those 3 spots. And then on Toll, it's the Canada thistle area. And both of those.
And a whole area that's growing up of, I'm sorry, some kind of gray, help me, gray, sounds like it's a nice plant, but it's not. Gray dogwood.
Oh. Or is that over in the Westfield? that it got mowed over there in the Westfield. That was the third that we never could not mow. So,
So it's now, I don't know, I'm exaggerating at 10 feet tall, but
oh, yeah, yeah,
8 feet tall. It's
yeah,
not, it's
yeah.
not a quick mow.
No, no. It's because it wasn't done last year.
Yeah, and I will say it's my plan to do, like I have the scoping, the mowing scope of work drafted. It's my plan to also have an invasive species scope drafted similarly. I just quite honestly haven't had the time to throw it together. But I also just want to mention the draft mowing scope of work that I have is, it's not based on my opinion. It's just based on what I could find in the files, what had been done in the past, and, some areas I still need to fill in. But I just wanted to put that out there that, I'm not suggesting how these properties should be mowed. I just tried to compile the information from what I could find in the past, to
Solicit
inform
bids.
yeah, exactly.
And
I
I
think-
noticed Woodward's not on here, but we're going to deal with that separately.
I
right?
I added it after I sent it because I realized I forgot it. But I'll
okay.
recirculate that.
Okay. Well, I do think it's a good idea to get bids so we're better informed.
Yeah.
For years, we had one individual who lived in town that did Benfield and Toll. And then we moved to a different regime, moved around, and he's no longer available. Anyway, so, and then there was somebody else that was doing it. He's no longer available. So we need to get some bids.
Some fresh blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Megan, can you recommend a motion for us to vote on right now to recommend that you continue to collect information so that we can put bids out for the 5 different areas under consideration?
Yeah, I think you just did it.
Okay,
Does that mean, George, directly she will solicit bids?
not yet.
I'll
We need to
get-
get the information.
What?
I would
What
like you guys
information
to
do we need?
approve of the scope of work before I put it out to bid to make sure we all agree on what we want
Right.
done at each property in terms of, is this mowed once a year, twice a year, things like that.
We do have a
So we
land
can
steward.
assess that at the next meeting, which is what, 3 weeks away.
We do have a
Yes.
land steward here. On maybe he's got a suggestion.
Oh, that's an idea.
Alex? No?
I can also I'll circulate to the remaining land stewards as well and get some feedback from them.
And you're sure that waiting until our next meeting, if it's 3 weeks away, is not going to, and then subsequent to that, soliciting bids is not going to jeopardize.
Well,
our
that gives
decision?
us 6 weeks to solicit bids and make our decision. So
Okay.
that, I think
Sounds
that's
good.
okay, but I don't know
I
for
mean,
sure.
we can call a special meeting at any time if we feel like we're running out of time, right?
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, if we're out of time, we have too much money, we can do my house. Oh, sorry, never mind. All right. So I propose a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Melissa, thank you. Not often I get to do a motion. That's good. Take a roll call vote, please. Sylvia,
Aye.
Dan, Mr. Mute.
He's gone.
He is gone. Okay, Melissa.
Aye.
Brian.
I'm still here. Aye.
Good. You're awake too. That's good. Nick.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion passes. Okay, so Dan left early. All right. Well, I'm going to page 5. We already did the Boy Scouts, which is on my page 5. We did the bills. I'm going to page 6.
Look at us.
I
Flying through.
know. Woo, we are crunching along here. So we did the minutes already, which was 11. 12 is the Land Steward Committee updates. So who's going to speak to this?
That would be me.
Okay. I have some names here, but
So the first item that I have for the Land Stewardship Committee updates is that the select board feedback on revised LSC charter. So Navneet represented the commission at the select board's meeting last week, and the select board still wanted to review the charter. Said they needed more time to review and that they'd send me any additional feedback that they had. Besides the few comments made at the actual select board meeting, I haven't received any feedback from any of the members. But select board member Travis Snell at that meeting just wanted inclusion of trail usage to one of the, maybe I can pull it up, but basically, let's see, under the responsibilities and core tasks of the LSC, it says to engage in informal collaboration with Trails Committee when trail relocations or new trails are proposed. So he just wanted the addition of trail usage in there. So that was
So can I just
really
say, we
the-
just had the Boy Scout come and he wanted to make a new trail. Did we go to trails?
Yes, we did.
Okay, because we just approved it, that's all.
Yeah, it was under Trails. Yeah.
And Trails was here.
Trails was speaking for them.
Yeah.
Although we got to hear from our Eagle Scout. So I don't see that as disconsonant with anything else that we've written in our charter. I mean, I think that was part and parcel of, the role we staked out for trails. So I don't have a problem making a small edit. I would just point out that the select board was caught a little off guard because their meeting packet had an old draft rather than the charter that we voted on, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I watched it over,
they were uninformed for their meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was some kind of mix up that happened.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with that little amendment. And if we need to vote on that to make that edit to please the select board, I'm okay with that.
well, the way I read the agenda, it sounds like we have to give them until the 28th of April to provide feedback.
That seems unfortunate, but they've been very tied up with town meeting.
I understand. So, excuse me, aren't our hands tied at the moment until we get their feedback?
I don't think so.
No, I think based on the feedback we've gotten so far, we can make an edit, and then if between now and their meeting they have more edits or feedback, then we'll have to wait and address those at our next meeting. But in my opinion, there's been reasonable time given for comments. I think it was in late February when we first started revising the LSC charter, and I sent around the drafts to the chairs of every committee and board in town, including select board members. So I think, they have a lot going on and they just didn't have time to review it at the time. But I think, now it's been enough time.
Right. And they were reviewing the wrong edition too. So now they have the right one, which is good. But
and
maybe that'll satisfy them.
They seemed overall, they mentioned several times how they're generally very in favor of the charter revisions and thanked all of the commission members for all of your work and time that you put into this. So I just wanted to note that they seem generally supportive.
Yes, particularly Navneet. She did a great job.
Yes.
She did. It's our charter, right? We can take or not take edits.
All right, can I get a motion here?
What are we motioning?
To accept the change to those 3-letter changes to the word changes to the charter?
Excuse me, I'm dying here.
Asking for, George? Oh, sorry, 2 words, trail usage.
Okay. So engage in informal collaboration with the Trails Committee when trail usage.
Usage. Oh.
How about just use?
Yeah, use would be better.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound great. Okay. Yeah, because I think what he's referring to is when there's discussions about, what trail use is allowed, um, like bikes versus walking versus skiing versus motor powered,
Yeah, we've
like
got
that type of thing.
the OPDMD regulations.
Yeah, so
And
when
they're-
those
Yeah.
when those regulations are discussed or revised to include the Trails Committee in those conversations. So hopefully that encompasses it. Let's
So
see.
it's when trail relocations, oh, when trail use comma, right? You have a comma, yes. I think that's fine. And maybe a comma after relocations if you want to do the Oxford comma. I'm happy with
There
that.
may be times when a trail would not be, for example, appropriate for bikes or for horses, for
Yeah,
example.
I think this is fine.
So George, is that what you were asking for the motion for? To
Well, I
accept it?
think so.
Yeah.
I'm struggling here.
Yeah, I think a motion would be good. Ooh.
Okay,
So I'll
Go
make
for it,
that
George.
motion.
That's Brian. Can I get a second?
second,
Is that Melissa?
yes.
You sound just like Sylvia. Sorry.
Really?
I think that's flattering. Thank you.
Never mind.
That's an honor.
We'll take a vote, please. Nick,
All right.
Ryan,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia. The chair votes. Who?
And
Aye.
Megan is going to post our slightly
passes.
revised charter.
There we go.
Approved.
Yes,
you.
I will.
All right. Let the
The
Trails
next
guys
item
know.
is
So I'm sorry, should I have abstained because I was chair of the LSC?
Not
No.
anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
know,
so.
not anymore.
You're good.
Okay.
Good to go,
we
Brian.
have enough. We have enough without you, Brian. It's okay.
We're good.
All right. And then we have the LSC vacancies. Poor Alex is still waiting to say I do, I think.
Yeah, so the vacancies for all 7 spots was posted because the 3 remaining members on the LSC, their term was ending at the end of the fiscal year. So we thought, why not just advertise all 7 vacancies at the same time since they were about to expire anyways. So we did that. The application period expired on April 15th, and we got 4 applications. So Alex Parra, Chris Spinney, and Adam Chodnacki. I can't say his name. Those 3 members are applying to be on the LSC again. They're already members. And then we had 1 application from Angie Verge to be on the LSC as well. So 4 in total.
Who used to be on COSCOM?
Yes, yep. And I put the applications in the meeting packet, so hopefully everyone had a chance to look those over. But so far, that's all I've heard of is those 4.
And are
So
they
how
good
many,
time
if
to
we-
interview them? Not that we need to interview the current members, but maybe it would be nice to hear from Angie.
Is it typical practice to interview?
Yeah. A new,
Okay.
a new member, but actually she's not really a new member because she went on CONSCOM, so I'm not sure.
Well, she was on from 2016 to 2021. That sounds like a pretty good credential.
Yeah.
And she also came up with our list of acceptable plants.
Yeah, doesn't she do like natural, like native landscaping kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landscaping.
I replaced her on the Conscom. I remember that business she had.
I've only engaged with her once, but it was pretty productive and very positive on one of the properties we had to review. She had a great plan. Very knowledgeable.
So, Megan, if we accept these 4, how many total members do we have on LSC?
3.
We would have 4 out of 7, which would be a quorum.
So, Brian, you're not part of LSC anymore then,
That's
obviously.
correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
They're all very qualified, all four of them.
No, I agree. I would
Hopefully
recommend
some
that we
more people
accept
will,
them.
hopefully some more people will
Apply.
apply.
But
Yeah, maybe we have to re-advertise. I'm not sure what the process is, Megan, but meanwhile, I love the idea of getting LSE up and running again. And I think all four are laudatory people for this job.
so will they select their own chair and so on? And
They could, because they would have a quorum, assuming they're all willing to get to
yeah,
everything.
I know. It only takes
Yeah.
one person to say no, and then
I know, but that's where dedication and public service comes for.
be really nice if we can get more people on that committee, though.
Yeah, I think maybe it just not as, we need a little more socialization, maybe.
Right. Well, I think we recommend that we approve these four and recommend that they try to solicit additional members that make sense so they can present to ConsCom for approval.
I second that.
Okay. Then can I take a vote? Where am I here? Sylvia, is that okay?
Aye.
Melissa, you
Aye.
already said yes. George Shepard, yes. Brian Murphy,
Hi.
Nick,
Right.
and the chair already voted yes. The motion passes.
And so I'm sorry, that was a motion to nominate those
All
members.
four.
Okay, got it. I will pass that on to the select board and then they'll do the appointing as they see
Right.
fit.
And then we should get them together with ConsCom to try to understand what they have their charter, so I guess maybe we don't. Anyway, okay. Moving on to, we have two more items here. 13, informational draft wetland bylaw revision has been reviewed by town council.
Yes, this is informational. If I'm being honest, I didn't get a chance to fully review all their comments yet, but it is in the meeting packet. And I think that it's good that we've heard from them. So hopefully soon we can start looking at the next steps with the bylaw and how we want to revise it. But just put that there so everyone can
promote it.
Yeah.
Promote it.
There you go.
So we'll recommend that people review the documents been provided by legal, and then we can address it at the next meeting. Is that the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then finally, Cranberry Bog updates. Carlisle Affordable Housing Trust has selected Land Tech Consultants as the engineering consultant for the Cranberry Bog House project. And the H&H study is expected to be completed by September of this year.
Yes, those are my updates. I have a few other updates that aren't too consequential, but remember how I had told the commission at the last meeting that we got the grant assistantship from the state for the dam inspection on Curve Street. The engineers I just got an email today that they're coming out next Thursday at 2 p.m. for the inspection, and I asked if I could invite the commissioners to attend if they're interested, and they said yes. So I'll send you all an email. If anyone's interested in attending the dam inspection, I'll be there. It should take about an hour, 2 to 3 o'clock on next Thursday. Yeah, probably be interesting to just learn about what the inspection process is and see what shape the Curve Street Dam is in. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and like I said, I'll send an email about that. And then I'm coordinating with Sumco on when they're going to mobilize to the site. We're just working out some contract details about pricing and things like that. So once I know what date they'll be out there to do the maintenance repairs on the dam, then I'll let you all know. And then the next steps on dam number 1, I didn't really have any updates in time for this meeting, so that's why I didn't put it on the agenda. But I will put discussion of that on the next agenda, so just a heads up for that. And I think that's all of my Cranberry Bog updates. Yeah.
Huh. Well, we still have, an hour and a half to go here before we can get to go to bed. No, this is great. It's only been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thank you, Megan, for shortening up the agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Brian and Sylvia. And boy, I sure hope everybody votes yes. Nick.
Hi.
Brian.
I'm going to filibuster for a couple of hours.
Hey, gotta be a talking filibuster, though. You need to talk the whole time.
Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, you're going to pay for that, Brian. Melissa.
Hi, thank you, George.
Sylvia.